Why do we wage wars? Because it's always about us. What I need, what my desires are, where I want to get, what I want to achieve, the money I want to make, the power I want to conquer. Okay, it's just about us. Other people do the same. So we clash because our interests go against the interests of others. Who wins the strongest? We must say that the world is not in a very good place today, right? Well, perhaps it has never been. There are wars everywhere. There have always been war. You see, we imagine that war is something that interrupts an otherwise period of peace, right? So we have peace all the time. We've had like 80 years of peace. And I would say, really? Think about it again. Okay, so 80 years of peace after World War II. And then once in a while, we have a war that breaks out every once in a while. So it's an interruption. The opposite is true. We are in a constant state of war, which is interrupted by moments not of peace. We don't know what peace is. Well, I'll talk about that. Of moments of truce, just truce, not peace. Like I said, 80 years of peace. Are we sure in the West? Huh? Well, we had, remember the Cold War? Remember the Cuban crisis? We almost had a war there. And then the Iraqi war. And then we had the Libyan war. And then we had all kinds of wars everywhere where our countries were somehow involved. I'm talking about Italy, of course, but we've been involved in Iraq and in Libya well, not really in Kosovo, in those places, in the Balkans, but it was very close to us. So just the fact that we didn't see bombs coming on our house does not mean that we were at peace. We've always been at war. War is a natural state, and that is necessary. That's why we cannot do anything about it. We will never have peace unless, or eventually we will, unless we understand what the process that we're going through is really all about. Now, I'm not an expert in these things, okay? I'm not an expert of war and international politics and what have you. But to some extent, I know something about the conflicts that human beings go through at an individual level, in interpersonal level, at work, in society, in politics, revolts, stuff like that. We're always in a state of war. When, for example, we are there experiencing an internal conflict, for example, I think I should say this to my wife, but I'm not sure she's going to like this. So I don't want to go through all the trouble. Just leave it at that. I'll perhaps tell her next time, or should I tell her? No, that's a conflict. That's an internal conflict. Or we may have another internal conflict which is related to values, for example. If I cheat this person, I'm going to make a lot of money. But is that what I really want? I mean, I want to be an honest person. That's war. That's a conflict. So how do we go beyond that? We must understand the process. We evolve through conflict. It's what you call um, it's something that goes on from the beginning of times. We have our ego on one side, and we have our desire to connect. We can call this love on the other side. But connection is a very strong desire that we all have deep down, even the worst person. The worst person is the one who has that desire, doesn't know how to satisfy it, how to fulfill it. And so he or she does the worst things in the world. But the desire is there because the ego is stronger. Now, the ego in itself is not the problem. The ego is necessary for our evolution. We need a strong ego. In fact, I think that one of the big problems that we have is that we don't have a strong enough ego. I think that's the real problem. It's a weak ego that, will settle for anything, but wants security. That's also ego. I'll talk about this the next time. And the stronger it is, the stronger the desire to connect also grows. And at every war that we wage with ourselves, with others, at work or whatever, and between nations, the stronger these two parts grow, the stronger we become. You see, this is the process. We are all born in a state of dependence. So when we're kids, when we're children, we need parents or tutors or whoever who will take care of us. So hopefully they are going to do good things to us. Otherwise, we wouldn't know how to take care of ourselves. Then as we grow in our adolescence, we gradually grow into another stage, which is that of independence. The stage of independence is crucial because that's where we start to develop our individuality. Our ego grows much stronger. And the people that were our world until now, until then, they become our worst enemies. That's our parents or the people who take care of us. And that's normal. We need to detach ourselves from them somehow. Not the love, of course, but I want to take care of my life. I have my own desires. I have my own dreams. And I don't need people who tell me what I should do or what I shouldn't do. And if they do, I'm going to get in conflict with them. So you see, that's a very, very critical stage. And that's where humanity is at right now, because it's not only the individual, even humanity as a whole is going through these stages. Okay, so we've had, for example, in the first big portion of humanity, humanity was at the full mercy of nature. We didn't know how to defend ourselves from nature or God. Okay, so we had gods who would take care of us, and we were just supposed to pray, and we should have were in a stage of dependence towards him. And then as history went on, especially in the Western world, we detached ourselves more and more from God and say, we can take care of ourselves. We have that. We have the knowledge. We have the science. So we don't need a God anymore to tell us what we should do or shouldn't do. We can figure that out ourselves. It's not working very well. So this third stage of is interdependence. That's when you realize that you are not that independent. We need others. We need to connect with the world, with nature, with God, if you believe in that, or perhaps we will start believing again in God, but in a different way. Not as somebody who's there who simply depends on his will, but where we interact with God at the same level. Not that we become gods. No, that's not the point. We will not become gods, but we will be able to interact with him in a different way. That's if you believe in God, of course. But even if you don't, we will find a way to interact with nature, with our surrounding in a different way. So when we reach that state, then we will have peace. Why? Why do we wage wars? Because it's always about us. What I need, what my desires are, where I want to get, what I want to achieve, the money I want to make, the power I want to conquer. Okay, it's just about us. Other people do the same. So we clash because our interests go against the interests of others. Who wins? The strongest. That's the stage we're in right now. As a matter of fact, I think we are at the very last part of that stage. But we will not be able to avoid wars, unfortunately. We can, however, do something to stop waging wars with ourselves and towards others. That we can do. And when we get to that stage, we will prepare humanity to go to the next level. You see, diplomacy. What is diplomacy? When there are wars or there's danger of wars, diplomacy comes in, and it's perhaps even worse. Why? Because if diplomacy is looking for a compromise, it means that diplomacy makes us stay at the same level. It doesn't take us to the next level. It's at the same level, somewhere in between, where I gave you something, I gave the other side something, and perhaps we're going to have some truce. Not peace, truce. But things are not going to get solved because the other person or the other side still wants what he wanted, and so the other side. So, from anywhere from there and over and on, at some point, it's going to explode. Because what I want, I want. Remember, I'm in a state of independence. What I want, I want. And I don't want anybody stopping me. Now, that's necessary. We need to have that feeling. But at the same time, we need to have the awareness that if we really want what is important for us, snatching it from others is not going to work. Why don't we change strategy and say, I'm not here looking for what you can give me or what I can take away from you. That's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is to give you what you need. So instead of wanting what other people can give us because we become the people who can give to others. Now, how's that for power? That's the true power. And when all sides understand that, we don't need to wage wars anymore. That's how wars disappear. That's why I'm saying we have never met ever until today in history, in human history. We never have actually experienced peace. And we will, however, experience peace when we take upon ourselves the responsibility to fulfill other people's needs. Now, that's power. See you next time.